Well, the work week has begun and it starts off on a nice note. And we're going to hold on to that nice weather for another day before we get some changes. Severe weather is likely later this week in the plains and in parts of the Mississippi Valley. SPC's already got the alert up in the long range, so we'll be talking about that and everything else that's going on in the world of weather. Tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which is brought to you by our affiliate, Tempest by Weatherflow. You can get the revolutionary Tempest weather system, install it in like 2 minutes, and work it off your mobile device, and you'll be part of the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the description to this podcast. And if you purchase this or anything else from the Tempest website, because they have all sorts of other weather gadgets and gizmos in smart weather fashion, use the coupon code Winter2324, because if you do, you will receive
10% off. A good deal.
Yeah. Beautiful day here, Joe. I had the fireplace on this morning, got down to 33, made it back up
Hey,
to
you and I were tied.
Yeah,
We got
it was cold here. I had to take the plants, and I take Ophelia and Cleopatra and all her sisters had to come inside, and the avocado trees had to come in too. But I'm putting them back out tomorrow during the day because we've got another cold night ahead. I actually turned on the fireplace for the first time, I think, since February. I just haven't really used it. I mean, there were days where I could have used it, but I didn't think of it. And then since I've already switched my mode to AC, I didn't want to change it back to heat. So I said, let me just throw the fireplace on and burn a little propane. So it felt good. Hold up there by you today too this morning.
33 here at the home base, 30 degrees in Poughkeepsie, 28 degrees at Montgomery in Orange County. And we're in for another cold night tonight. We have a freeze warning in effect for Orange County, and for the rest of the lower Hudson Valley, or at least in areas where the growing season has apparently just begun, we have a frost advisory, and so it may be a little frosty on the old pumpkin. You still have the old pumpkin out there tomorrow morning.
Now, I didn't understand this because last night when we were on, they didn't have any frost or advisories or freeze warnings up by you, and you opined that, well, maybe the growing season hasn't started yet. Well, did the growing season start today because they have them up for tonight, or did they just, mess up yesterday by not putting them up?
I'm not sure. Maybe it might have been that we got so cold last night, partially because of, but I don't really think that was the case.
Well, they actually put them up when I got up. When I got up this morning, they actually had already put up frost advisories and freeze warnings or freeze watches or whatever they had for tonight into tomorrow morning, completely ignoring what was going on this morning. I don't know. I just thought the whole thing was weird. That's got to be one of the tougher ones, with the frost advisories and the freeze warnings. You put up a frost advisories. If you get so much as a breath of wind, you're not going to get any frost. And then if you put up a freeze warning and you wind up with a couple of patchy clouds that develop, that helps to hold the temperatures up. That's always a tricky proposition in trying to figure that out.
I'm trying to determine whether or not tonight will be as cold locally for me as it was this morning. Now, this morning, again, 33, but I have a feeling tonight, for whatever reason, that the temperatures may not get quite as low, maybe getting down to like 36, 37. But even if it only gets down to 36, the ground certainly is going to be a few degrees colder. And yes, with light and variable winds and clear skies, there could very well be frosty conditions, at least on my roof and on my grass or whatever, early tomorrow morning. So, and it's going to be in the night of a full moon, Joe, the so-called Pascal term or Pascal full moon, the full moon that, usually determines the first the date of Easter, but this particular moon is actually determining the first night of Passover, and so to all of our Jewish friends out there, happy Passover They're probably in the middle of a Seder right now anyway, so maybe they're not watching us. But in any
Well,
case,
it's understandable that they probably wouldn't watch the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, but they could watch it on other nights because we're on Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. and the occasional Friday and Saturday if there's a storm around.
right. Absolutely. So there you go.
You see how I can always turn anything into a shameless self-promotion.
And it's going to be so clear tonight, and with that big full moon out there, that whenever we get to around the witching hour of midnight or thereabouts, I'll look out at my backyard, and I swear to you, for a few seconds, it looks like it snowed. The moonlight can be that bright, and that's the
Oh
kind of
yeah.
light.
Oh yeah. No, for sure. By the way, welcome to everybody on the chat board to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, and a happy birthday to Paul Roman, who is celebrating today. Enjoy. And Chuck Cardillo, who points out that his growing season where he is doesn't start until June because he's up at 3,000 feet in the Catskills. Of course, the growing season there probably lasts all of about 2 weeks anyway, uh, from what you get weather-wise there. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, folks, so this way you don't miss us, and turn your notifications on so that you are alerted to when the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast is on. And if you like the show, of course, hit the like button because Joe and I always like to see, we like to be liked. We're very needy, the two of us. We're very touchy and we're very needy. So, anyway, uh, we're kind of in this quiet mode. There really isn't too much this week other than temperature changes and Wednesday when we've got this cold front coming through. And I was very happy to see that SPC did put a small area of general thunderstorms. I don't know if you saw that, but
But
they,
yeah,
so again, are they
so
watching the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast before they put their forecasts on? I can't, we can't prove it, but the evidence is strong. Let's put it that we should get
it's,
Perry. Let's
it's,
get Perry. Let's get Perry Mason and Paul Drake and Della on the case to
it's
find out if
circumstantial, Harry. It's circumstantial.
right. Isn't it true, SPC, that you watch the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast before you put out your forecast? Yes, we do. We do. All
We do.
right. Yes, we do. Okay, let's check out the watches and warnings that are up for tonight because they're not really of the ones that are we would probably describe as truly devastating, unless of course you are a farmer and you're in an area where the growing season has gotten underway. So you're obviously paying attention to the fact that we do have frost advisories and some freeze warnings up from southern New England down through New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, south central PA, southwest PA, down through much of Virginia into North Carolina, eastern North Carolina. Then there's a gap, and then you've got on the west side of the Appalachians, western PA, western West Virginia, eastern Kentucky, southwestern Virginia, northeast Tennessee, and eastern North Carolina down to my county in North Georgia, Union County. We have frost advisories up. And other than that, we have a few areas. You see those red flag warnings up in parts of Michigan and up in parts of the Dakotas and in a few counties in Colorado. Otherwise, at least for now, it looks pretty quiet across the U.S. But late Thursday and Friday this week, Joe, in the plains and then in the Mississippi Valley, looks like there could be a fairly robust severe weather situation that's going to be setting up there.
Well, yeah, I think you're absolutely correct, and yeah, I'm not gonna say it, as my partner says that SPC was watching, which is why they threw in the general thunderstorm risk locally. By the way, did you notice how small it was, Joe? You ever take a look?
Yes, in fact, as we're talking about it, why don't we bring it up on the map? So this is obviously tonight into tomorrow morning, except for a sliver of geography that is occupied by very expensive properties in southeastern Florida. They're in a marginal risk there. Otherwise, we've just got a few areas of general thunderstorm risk from Colorado to Missouri and Iowa, across northern North Dakota, northern Minnesota, back through parts of Nevada and in the Sierra Nevadas of California. Tomorrow, uh, two areas of marginal risk, one in northern Michigan, one in north in I don't know if you what you call that. It's sort of on the western side of central Texas, but not quite into northwest Texas. And you see the general thunderstorm areas that are running up and down the Mississippi River Valley. Then, as we go to day three, so this is there it is, northern New Jersey to New York City, to just west of you through Orange County to Sullivan County, and a good chunk of the eastern half of Pennsylvania down into northernmost Maryland and small, tiny portion of northern Delaware, which in and of itself is not, kind of a small estate, square miles wide. But there you have it. They have it's like a little thumbprint there, Joe Rayo, that they put up there on the map.
Yes, sir. And again, I mentioned in my forecast on Facebook for Wednesday, mostly spotty light showers or light shower activity, nothing heavy, nothing severe, nothing potent. But I did also mention that there could also be a rumble of thunder.
A
So,
rumble or two of thunder, and then we have a marginal risk in northwest Texas into Oklahoma. Now that sets up ahead of the long range. So if we go to day four, 15% is a slight risk, and that runs from northwest Texas into western Oklahoma and uh, central and parts of western Kansas. 15% again would be a slight risk of severe weather, which you'd see when you got into the long range. And then on day five, we have a larger area of slight risk, northeast Texas, northeastward, up through eastern Oklahoma, eastern Kansas and Nebraska, Iowa, much of Missouri, into northwestern parts of Arkansas and a small portion of western Illinois. And then on day six, it's back further south, back to north central Texas to parts of northwest Texas, just about all of Oklahoma and southern Kansas. So we've got two lows that are going to be coming out of the Great Plains, and both of them are going to take a track toward the northeast. So that will at least delay any arrival of rainfall here after we get showers on Wednesday. In the east, much of this week is really on the quiet side, and Thursday and Friday, a little, especially Thursday, a little bit on the chilly side. But overall, considering all that we've dealt with in the last month and a half, this is a much needed break from major storm activity.
Joe, even though we're starting off the week on a night where we do have frost and yes, even freeze advisories posted for parts of the Hudson Valley, 1 week from today, we may see temperatures soaring to or above 80 degrees. I played a little conservative here. I said on Facebook, low to mid 70s for next Monday, but I took a look at some of the midterm models. Like for example, the European is suggesting temperatures could be in the low 80s next Monday. So I don't know whether or not it's overdoing it or whether or not some of the other models are underdoing it with temps in the low to mid 70s. But there is most definitely apparently a big warm up coming our way temperature wise once we get into the upcoming weekend. Till then, we're probably just going to have near seasonable or seasonal temperatures. And again, tonight, unseasonably chilly with temperatures in some areas dropping all the way down to perhaps the lower 30s.
And this is always a time of year that if you get a day where it's a lot of sunshine and you don't have, you have you have an air mass that is not it's not coming from Canada. It's not you're not getting a bad wind from off the ocean. When I say a bad wind, I'm talking about an onshore wind. And if you don't have clouds, uh, if you've got plenty of sun, you almost always wind up finishing higher than what guidance points out. So got to watch for those factors as far as whether that might keep it from getting that high. But if you don't have any interference, there's always this time of year room for upside as far as temperatures are concerned.
And we'll see. We'll see what happens. I do want to say that in terms of convection. Yeah, there's that chance on Wednesday for a little bit of convection, but also there might be some more significant thunderstorm activity. Maybe, and I'll get your opinion on this, Joe. Friday night into early Saturday, we might have
Oh,
to deal.
with that warm front.
Yeah, with some
Yeah,
rumbles.
I don't disagree with that. That might be what you need to have happen in order to transition over into the warmer air mass.
Yeah, yeah, and then then we get the big bump upwards in temperature. Maybe not necessarily Saturday, but Sunday. Woo, and Monday too.
Yeah. Beautiful clear skies on the satellite this evening from Maine all the way down to Georgia. Just a little bit of spotty cloud cover, popcorn cloud cover in parts of the southeast and Florida, but nothing to write home about. And some clouds gathering in the Gulf of Mexico. That's probably the precursor to some of the severe weather that's going to go on later this week. The atmosphere maybe starting to slowly prime itself up for that. You've got a weak system moving across. The upper Mississippi Valley. You can see clouds there that extend back through parts of Kansas and Colorado and Nebraska. And then there's another trough that's moving into North Dakota, which is why SBC's got the risk areas drawn the way they do. And as we check out the radar tonight, and let me just give this a quick refresh, and nothing in the east. We've got some showers going on in parts of Wisconsin and northwestern Illinois and Iowa. Also, some spotty showers across North Dakota and into Montana. We've got some spotty showers in parts of Nebraska, eastern Nebraska, western Kansas, and in through Colorado. Probably some snow in some of the higher mountaintops. Otherwise, again, the, the western part of the United States is quiet. The eastern part of the United States quiet. The Gulf states are quiet. It's just more in that northern tier in the middle that we're getting some issues. And by the way, as far as rainfall is concerned, because of the way these storms are tracking, and the way these storms are tracking, and they're all going to our west, that kind of opens the door for not only severe weather in the midsection, as Joe likes to call it. Um, it we have a lot of rain, and WPC uh, is showing a fairly large rain. This is 7-day rainfalls that take us to next Monday night, and you're seeing 2 and 3 inch plus areas of rain from Oklahoma and Arkansas northward through Missouri and into Illinois and Iowa, and a big area of an inch and a half plus that extends all the way up into the into Wisconsin and the Upper Peninsula, the upper part of the Lower Peninsula of Michigan. They got a little hole drawn in over there from the UP for some reason. But the storm tracks are such now that the big rains are going to be in the middle, and also seeing some big rains in the Pacific Northwest. But Joe, as you point out, in the east, because we just have this one weather front going through, and then maybe that warm front later Friday night, Saturday morning, rainfall amounts are generally under a quarter of an inch.
It doesn't look like we're going to see all that much. Even if we do get a thunderstorm, let's say on Wednesday, still not, anything really to write home about. We might get something a little bit more than that, as I said, by the time we get to Friday night into early Saturday, especially so if we may get any thunderstorms then. So, but really, when you think about all of the, past few weeks or even the last few months where we've had to deal with, periods of heavy rain and 2, 3, 4 inches. Or nothing like that coming our way, at least over the next 7 days, Joe.
Agreed. All right, let's check out where are the models taking us. Why don't we take a look? You know what? Since you mentioned about warming temperatures, I'm going to bring up the thermodynamics and go to the temperature and anomalies. Should we look at the anomalies?
The Animales, I thought it
Yeah.
was, that's not, no relation to Mrs. Ann Sambles.
No, no, that's and shambles. No.
And she,
Um, the so the anomalies. And this is starting to, of course, below normal temperatures in the east at the moment, and across the Gulf states, quite chilly down here. And as we move into the middle part of the week ahead of this cold front, we're going to see a brief return to near average. Then we've got this cold shot, quote unquote, that comes in for Thursday and Friday. And then you see where it's warming up. It's warming up all through the Great Plains, which is where we're seeing, the potential for some severe weather later this week. And then as we get into the weekend and into next week, you start to see that area of above normal temperatures shifting, uh, beginning not so much on Saturday because of the fact that you got the warm front coming through and there's probably going to be clouds around, but Sunday and Monday of next week and Tuesday, we are seeing above normal temperatures, and even Wednesday. Now, here's where you got to be a little careful. So I'm just going to just point this out. So if you look on Wednesday, Joe, next week, it's below normal in upstate New York and New England. It's above normal from Long Island and New Jersey southward. So that, if you looked at that map and you didn't look at anything else, that tells you that there's probably some kind of backdoor front of some sort that is nearby. So
Right.
that's one of the things that you always have to be careful of this time of year, that you get some sort of front that backdoors down from New England or from Eastern Canada, and that, and oftentimes models pick up on that in the long range, and then they fight over how strong it's going to be or how shallow it's going to be. So that's part of the puzzle. But here I'm looking at Thursday and Friday. It almost suggests that one of these that back door on Wednesday does make it down, maybe down to New Jersey, southern New Jersey, and Delaware, because all the above normals are to the west. And then it's more above normal temperatures beyond that as we head through the first week or so, the first days of May and moving on. And there's another push of chilly air that comes down into the plain. So uh, you got to be, forecasting temperatures in the spring can be so difficult because of all these little factors that you have to take into account. And we will, of course, take them into account here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which we do Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m.
Hard to believe.
And
1 week from Wednesday, 1 week from this Wednesday, 1st of May. May. I
I
mean, it's
know
like only a few weeks ago the year started in January, and here we are in May. Amazing.
it does move by quickly. It
Yes, it does.
really does. All right. Obviously, no issues tomorrow. We've got some rain moving across the Great Lakes tomorrow morning, and then you see this weather front that approaches on Wednesday. A couple of showers that goes by. Here comes a high that builds in with a shot of chilly air. Meanwhile, in the west, you see nothing. You see the straight southerly isobars from Mexico to Canada, Joe. This is like like a ruler. So it's a warm flow that heads up into the plains, and here's where we start to see a developing low. You've got an 89 low in northwest Kansas. So that's probably, this is where we've got the risk area that WPC was talking about for Thursday. So that would be, somewhere in here with regards to the slight risk that they were indicating, because you got your low and you probably have a warm front that's across the state of Iowa and moving northward. And then come Friday, that low goes up into northern Iowa. So you would expect the severe weather to shift a little bit into the Mississippi Valley. And this is where, of course, you've got that 7-day rainfall forecast. But again, it's all in the middle. So in the east, if all the action in the troughing is in the middle, the east should be fine because we're going to be kind of in a ridge position here. And here comes that warm front. The GFS is a little slower with this warm front. Looks like it's more like during the day on Saturday that it wants to bring it through. We can argue about that over the next couple of days. And then after that goes by, it's a southwest flow. But again, there's a high that's up in near James Bay, moving into early next week, but doesn't look like that back door's down. And now you got another low that's in Colorado that comes out that's probably going to mean some more severe weather from parts of the plains and into the Mississippi Valley into late in the week and early next week. So yeah, look, see right here, you see, Joe, it's just like a little back door that comes down on the
Right.
GFS now Monday afternoon. So you got to be a little careful here with what's going on in the west, and lows that are trying to come out and go to the lakes. So that could make that could make a difference. And then another front goes by, we cool off a little bit, but not a lot. But nothing coming up the eastern seaboard. That's the thing I've been just watching very carefully. Is this this is not a pattern that's going to be favorable for storms coming up the East Coast in one fashion or another, because that's how you get the big soaking rains around here, or a deep storm that runs up the east side of the Appalachians. We're not seeing that. So this the pattern of 4-inch rainfalls once or twice a week seems to have taken a bit of a sabbatical.
Well, you know, everybody has to everybody has to take a little rest for a while. In fact, if you pardon me for just a second, Joe, I just want to get a drink of water because I don't know. All of a sudden,
Out of
my
my way. I need a glass of water. My throat's on fire. He's got to get his drink of water. All right, let me put this up on the screen here. Let's get us back. All right. While Joe takes his glass of water, I would like to say thank you to Leon Probitsky for hitting the super chat tip jar. Most appreciated, Leon. Now
yes,
Joe has returned.
yes, I have returned with my Poland spring water here.
All right, exactly. All right, so I mean, there really isn't too much else we can add to this. This is that
I do want to.
this is that wonderful spot in April into May where not much goes on.
Well, I have a question for you. Are,
Okay,
are we looking out in the Atlantic Ocean? Are we looking at Alberto?
all right.
Have you?
What are you looking at?
I don't know, about 400 miles east of the Outer Banks of North Carolina.
Oh, you mean this low that the model develops tonight
Yeah,
and deepens down to a 993? I mean, that looks extratropical to me.
I mean, it's been on the last few runs, and the models have been spinning up an Atlantic low pressure system, and that you if you're looking for early season action, that usually is where you would find it somewhere well off of the mid Atlantic coast. The motion will push it off to the northeast. The waters are still relatively chilly. However, I should point out that the ocean heat content in the Atlantic Main Development Region, or the MDR, as some of us know it as, is as high today. This is the 22nd of April. It's as high today as it was on the 24th of May last year, and it's as high as the average value on June 27th. So, I mean, we've been hearing all year, ever since the beginning of the year, how warm the Atlantic Ocean is, abnormally warm. So, you're looking for a trigger to maybe start off or kick off the tropical cyclone season early. And it's not necessarily true that this system that I just mentioned out over several hundred miles east of North Carolina is going to develop into anything. It may be just a simple wave moving along a weather front. But still, I think, Joe, will have to watch carefully for these types of systems in the coming days and weeks because, again, that ocean water really is warmer than it should be.
Don't disagree. Actually, that part of the Atlantic is actually running the one of the few spots where the temperature, when I last looked about a week ago, one of the few spots where the ocean water temperatures were actually running a little bit below average.
Hmm.
Not the MDR part, but off the southeast coast.
Right, right.
So, well, no, I don't disagree with you. I mean, we get into we're like you said, in the long range, we're already into the first week of May. And, we've had in the last 10 or 12 years, although not in the last recent Mays, but we had that streak of 6 out of 7 or 5 out of 6 or whatever it was. So a May storm popping up ain't impossible. Let's put it that way.
Yes, absolutely. No, it's definitely not impossible. My goodness, what, a few years ago we had our first tropical system in January. For
Right,
goodness sake.
right. Okay, so let's talk Briller Jeopardy, shall we?
Hmm.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
had to
That's
get
all
a
right.
little. I have a bunch of questions here tonight, or unless you have Thriller
I,
Jeopardy questions.
I have the ones that I got over the weekend that we're supposed to use for yesterday.
Oh, so we'll use yours first.
By all means. Christina Petey apparently was not impressed by Cara Cara oranges. You must not have gotten some good quality Cara Cara oranges.
Oh, the Cara Caras are spectacular, and yet
They-
the days are running out, aren't they, for Cara Cara?
yeah, we're at the end of the season because the season for Cara Caras are January through April, early May. So now if you get any now, you're getting the late crop. So they might not be as juicy, but I don't know. Most of the I've never had a bad experience with a Cara Cara orange. I put you onto Cara Caras, remember?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, when we used to work at FiOS One, you handed me my first Caracara and said, "Try this." And I said, "Oh, well, the big deal. It's an orange." He said, "Try it." And I tried it. And when I got home that night, I said to
You
Renata, I said,
said, you said, Marge, you have to just get the Cara Cara oranges from ShopRite.
"Yes, definitely shop right. Unless you want to get them El Cheapo, then you have to go to Acme."
Correct. All right, it's Briller Jeopardy, and tonight we're doing average low temperatures for the month of April in the following cities. And we're going to start with Atlanta, Georgia.
Low temperatures for the month of April in Atlanta.
Average low temperature in the month of April for Atlanta.
How about 53?
Can you ring the bell for yourself?
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling.
Had
Yes,
no
Joe Rayo got it at 53, as did Chuck Cardillo. Very good, Joe. All right,
idea.
let's move on to Baltimore.
Baltimore. Baltimore. Baltimore, I would say, what can we say with Baltimore? How about 49?
49. Um, 49 is just a smidge too high.
Oh,
49 is just a smidge too high, Joe. Let's see who's anybody up. Weather Talks. Weather Talks on the chat board gets it at 44. And so did William Uber at 44. And 44 are known, by the way, if you're playing uh, with dice, they're called crabs.
really?
Double fours are known hold on. I'm sorry. I take that back. Double threes are crabs. Double fours are known as fours. Just
Okay.
fours. Okay. Um,
I never
so
heard when you were doing the weather on News 12 or Pix 11. I never heard you say tonight we have crabs tonight.
no, I didn't double three. No, I would say like double threes or double fours. Um, anyway, Chicago.
Chicago, Chicago, Chicago. How about 39?
39 is a good guess, but it's wrong.
Wow.
Helen Bertona and Joe Z immediately nailed it though with 42 for Chicago. 42, and Chuck Cardillo coming in close, and Northern Grace coming in close at 41. Okay, the next one is Denver.
Denver. I hate Denver. Denver. Uh 37.
Ew, God, how close are you? So did Frank Scalera said 37. And Bela Lugrisi on the other side of that at 39, which means that Northern Grace gets it at 38 and Joe Z gets it at 38. And Hartford, Connecticut.
Hatford.
Hartford.
Hatford. How about
Hartford.
how about um how about 40?
Close, close. But Latex Dreams nails that one at 38. 38. Few of you dancing all around the number, though. Maggie P getting 38, John Melander 37, Leon Probitsky 37, but it's 38. Mike Waterhouse 39, 38. And the last one, the bonus tonight is, of course, uh, Ubarak, which is backwards for caribou. Caribou, Maine.
Why did I not think there was why did I think it was going to be caribou? Caribou, I would say 29.
Boy, very close again, Joe. Really, very close. If it was a lottery ticket, you'd be kicking yourself.
Ah,
Frank Karlberg and Leon Probitsky said 29. Northern Grace said 27, but Carol DiChiara gets it at 28. And
wow.
so did Norm Roberts, 28. So there you have it.
There you go. We want to thank Leon Probitsky for hitting Super Chat tonight. Thank you very much, Leon.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And that's really pretty much it. I got nothing else going on. I didn't see any. I did see one article talking about the fact that one of the wild cards that doesn't get talked about with the hurricane season because everybody's going crazy, with the whole thing with the La Nina and everything else. Well, two things. One is, um, and I haven't been paying close attention to this, but Dave Tolerus put something up about the fact that the European long range models in the European are not showing a La Nina developing, or if they do show it, it's really weak. So
Hmm.
even though all the other models are kind of like in the strong camp, the European for some reason is not showing this. But he just wanted to throw that out there. The other thing I did read, which I think is a valid point. Uh, you could have all the favorable conditions to what you want, but one of the things you got to really pay attention to is the Saharan dust, which has been a bit on the robust side apparently at the moment. And if there's too much dust, uh, the air out in the Atlantic will be pretty dry. So that's another wild card in all of this. So just wanted to just throw that out there. We still got another almost 6 weeks before we get to the start of hurricane season. So, but it'll just give everybody giving us give everybody something to think about.
Well, we shall see what we shall see. Normally, the dust is, a factor during the first half of the season. Well, once the season begins to rev up in mid-August, the
It,
dust.
it usually shuts off, but the question is it going to shut off, or does it shut off too? It takes longer to shut off. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
the usual stuff.
Yes.
All right, Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, as it is brought to you by Every Night, is Tempest by Weatherflow, the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Be part of the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the descriptor to this podcast. Use the coupon code Winter2324. If you do, you will get.
10% off.
And yeah, that's it. I'm going to go back to Perry.
Or you're really into a Perry Mason motor now,
Well,
aren't
you know what? It's on this new channel that I have DirecTV Stream, and they added this channel called the Great American TV Channel, and all they do is run hours and hours of Murder She Wrote from 10 p.m. at night until 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and then from 3 p.m. in the afternoon to 10 p.m. at night, they run Perry Mason.
you? Wow.
That's all they have. That's it.
You're binge watching Perry Mason and Murder She Wrote.
Oh, you know, I would just say that as far as Jessica Fletcher is concerned, the- you know, I mean, wherever she goes, bodies just drop dead left and right.
It seemed that way during that show,
I,
isn't
right, and she came from, suppose the character lived in quote Cabot Cove, Maine, all right, which is not a real place, but it's based on a real place that's in Maine. But Cabot Cove, Maine, by the time the series ended, half the population of the town had either been murdered or was arrested for murder. Their murder rates were higher than any major metropolitan area.
well, enjoy your night. I always now. Do you like the new Perry Masons, the ones that came out in color, like 20 years after the fact?
The movies with Raymond
Yeah.
Burr and Barbara Hale, yeah, I enjoyed those. I didn't, they've made attempts at remakes with other actors, and it just doesn't work. Yeah, it
Did you,
just doesn't
did,
work.
here's what I always had a dream about: that somebody who really needed help, like being accused of murder and robbery and a whole slew of things, and here's Perry coming to this guy's rescue, and Perry says, this is a very complex case. You know what I need to do? I need to contact an old friend of mine down in Atlanta, Ben Matlock.
Well,
And, he,
I
and
uh,
he'd, yeah.
I like watching the judges. Okay, and every once in a while, I feel there are a couple of the judges where I feel like there if I were writing it, all right, if I were writing it, and Hamilton Berger would say, "Objection, Your Honor. It's incompetent, irrelevant, and immaterial, and has no bearing on the case." The judge's response would be, "Shut up, Mr. Berger," and then turn to Perry and say, "Continue your line of questioning, Mr. Mason." There's a
It always
couple of the judges there that I get the feeling sometimes that that's what they really wanted to say. Objection. Will you sit down, Mr. Berger? Go
yes.
on. Go on, Mr. Mason.
Oh dear. Well, enjoy your night of TV watching, and I guess we'll see everybody tomorrow at 7:35.
Yes, tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Nighty night.
Good night, folks.